morning, sir and colleagues. So today's topic is the ACL reconstruction for the beginners. Regarding the ACL, this is the anatomy of the posterolateral and the anteromedial fibers, which is at the femoral endpoint, and this is the area of the medial wall of the lateral femoral condyle. If we see the lateral intercondylar ridge and the placement of the AM and the PL fiber accordingly. This is the ACL insertion site in the tibial, where we can see the insertion site of the PL and the AM bundle of the ACL. So regarding the implant choices which we use for the interference screw, so we have as per the past, we have the different types of materials which will be used. First was the metallic screw, which was the first to be used was the stainless steel, and then now after that there's the titanium screws which were used. So the stainless steels and with this the MRI were not compatible with the MRI, so that was the history which we used there. Another is the bioabsorbable screw, which are the PLLA, polylactic acid, and then we have the biocomposite screw with the PLLA with the hydroxyapatite and beta tricalcium phosphate, and the latest generation are the PEEK screw. So the metallic screw, earlier the oldest one used was the SS. In these they had the strong fixation, radio opaque, and they were very economical to use. But the main disadvantage that after placement, as they were not MRI compatible, so later on the MRI was not done. Secondly, when we remove this screw for the revision, then there is the creation of the void after removal, and so their use with the time has been discontinued or less commonly used. After that came the titanium, which is for the issue of the MRI compatibility. So again, it has a strong fixation, then fewer complication as compared to the bioabsorbable screw, because they are metallic. So as such, reaction is also not that much seen. And again, the same issue, the void creation after the removal. Then we have the bioabsorbable screw, polylactic acid screws. These are the bioabsorbable, dissolved after few years, and these are the MRI compatible. The disadvantages with these screws is the pain at the tibial side. So normally when they dissolve, so these dissolve lead to some sterile reaction or the cavity or the cyst formation in few of the cases. So many of the cases have the pain at the tibial screw side, which later on when we remove the screw, then this pain usually heals up in the 95% of the cases. So the another one is the tunnel widening is the one of the complication, and few of the times this screw may also break. Then there came the these bio screws with the PLLA screws, the hydroxyapatite and the beta TCP combination. So these as the osteoconductive compound, so they enhance the bone formation around the screw. So this holds the more strong fixation. So it incorporates within the bone. Disadvantages are the less sterile reaction which happens in the PLLA screws, and but it has a high cost, and because it incorporates within the bone, so the removal becomes very difficult. Then the latest one are these PEEK screws. Advantages is that the modulus of elasticity is similar to the cortical bone, and these are the bio-inert screws. So the problem with the PLLA screws has been addressed here. So these are the bio-inert, MRI compatible, so no sterile reaction seen. And the disadvantage is that it is the latest is the high cost. So regarding the grafts which we use in ACL reconstruction, so most commonly what we use is the autograft usually from the axillateral side, in the revision case from the opposite side, the allograft, and we have the synthetic graft. In the autograft, the advantages of this autograft that it is easily available, the low risk of adverse inflammatory reactions because it is taken from the same person, it undergoes revascularization and the recolonization. So initially when we use these graft in ACL, so initially they lose some strength. Most common current graft choice has been over the time has been the bone patellar tendon bone graft and the hamstring graft. Now most commonly used. So the graft choices which we have in the autograft are the hamstring graft, peroneus tendon graft, quadriceps, and the bone patellar tendon bone, and this contralateral hamstring graft. Bone patellar tendon bone graft, it has been stated to be the ideal one because it provides the most strong hold because both the ends have the bone. So it is harvested from the central side of the patella, actually we can see in the images, and with the patellar tendon and adjacent to the patella and the tibial bone block. Historically they have been most commonly used, but their use has been with time now hamstring has been more preferred. So why they have been preferred? Because of the few side effects with, because of the some issues with them. Advantages have been the high graft strength and the stiffness and the faster healing because the bone to bone union is taking place at both the ends. Disadvantages are the complexity in the graft harvesting. It takes a longer incision, takes more time, and more time in surgery, last scar, and sometimes taking out the bone, cutting out the bone. There may be a fracture in the patella or the tibial side. So the complication can be the anterior knee pain. Few of the cases, the patellar tendon can rupture, the patella or the tibial fracture can take place, and the difficulty in kneeling and the quadriceps weakness which we see. So the hamstring graft, these are increasingly, they are more popular used in recent years due to the relatively low donor site morbidity. Semitendinosis with or without gracilis is the harvested from the ipsilateral side. So the main advantage is that we give a single incision where we drill the tibial tendon from the same side we take the graft. So another more incision, again another side incision is not taking place. The triple or the quadruple stranded semi-T graft or the quadruple stranded semi to the gracilis tendinous graft which we use. So this is the image showing the taking out the semi-T and the gracilis graft and this placement. Advantages of these grafts that these are easy to harvest, easy technique, and it takes lesser time than the bone patellar tendon graft, and there is low donor site morbidity and high tensile strength. Disadvantages is that lack of rigid bony fixation because the bone to bone union is not taking place at this side, and the loss of the hamstring strength in such cases usually 10%. These are thigh muscle atrophy, because we are taking these grafts, and hyposthesia or the anesthesia caused by the injury to the infrapatellar branch of the cephalous nerve which comes into the side of the graft, this tendon. So there have been the methods to avoid how we can avoid these injuries while taking the graft. So these are the few. So the quadriceps tendon graft, these are the recently more attractive way of using this graft. These are harvested from a portion of the patellar bone or entirely the soft tissue. And alternatively replacement graft for revision ACL surgeries and the knee with the multi-ligament injuries. So the advantages are the comparatively less donor site morbidity, larger cross-sectional area of the graft, and the disadvantage is the large surgical scar can be there. Peroneus longus graft, these are the peroneus longus autograft in primary ACL reconstruction. Is a safe procedure with an excellent outcome. Advantage are the larger graft diameter, and function of the donor ankle is excellent because there is an intact peroneus bend. So weakness of the eversion does not take place when we use this graft. It avoids the complication of the quadriceps hamstring imbalance because when we take the hamstring graft or the bone patellar graft, so there is always some imbalances because of the we are taking the hamstring, so it can cause weakness. So there are some imbalance, but in the ankle, because it is away from the side, so there is no imbalance in the knee dynamics, and there is a lesser thigh atrophy because the graft is taken place from somewhere else. So this is the diagram which we can see peroneus longus and the brevis. Brevis seems more muscular, and the longus which we can identify. It is more so tendinous. So there are a few rare complications which can take place while harvesting the longus graft, peroneus graft. That there comes a sequin in very proximally, so that there can be some damage. So these charts showing the biomechanical properties of the various grafts. So this is the retro bone which we now are using in the femoral tunnel. So earlier what we used to do that when we drill the femoral tunnel with a 2.3 mm big pin. So when we drill the femoral tunnel, then we have to use the 4 mm drill bit for reaming it. So then we take the length. So if the length measurement, if the tunnel is of small size, then we have committed to this tunnel. We can't do anything. But with this technique, before committing to the tunnel, before reaming it, we can measure the size of the tunnel. So if the tunnel is of a small size, we can revise. So which cannot take place in the earlier case, because when you have drilled the tunnel, so you are committed. If the tunnel is small, then you have to make the another big tunnel. So that complication is not there with this. So we have this big pin which is marked. We take this big pin and we drill for the femur. In the femur, we make the tunnel with a 2.3 mm drill big pin, and this is a black mark up till this mark goes inside the joint and up to the femoral cortex from the inside. It goes, and the rest of the part comes out through the skin, and we give a bit neck and we measure from outside. We use this, we measure from outside, and that gives the length of the femoral tunnel. So we can see this. We have entered from the tibial side. We have drilled this femoral tunnel, and it comes out through the skin. We give a neck, and then from outside we measure. So the size of the tunnel. The tunnel comes out to be less than like 30 mm and all. So then we can revise this before reaming, before drilling. So this is the advantage of the retro bone. So these are tips for drilling the tunnel. So let's suppose we are doing the tibial, we are making a tibial tunnel, and the big pin which we want, it doesn't come out at the desired point. Then what shall we do? So what we can do is we can keep that pin there, and we can make another hole. Why? Because if we take out that pin and then we start making another hole, so it can happen that it keeps on going in the same track, and you will have more problem.